But my name's Mick, and I am an alcoholic, and it is only by the grace of God and this fellowship that I'm sober today. And I want to thank this group, the Hambleden group, for having it open, because my daughter asked if she could come and listen to this, my 50th meeting, 50th year, but share. And I asked you, and I said that if anyone said no, one person said no, and then it stayed closed. But the group agreed. Because she said to me, I'm going to embarrass her now. What she said to me, I'm coming to your meeting, and I'm going to dress up in Ben's clothes, that's my grandson's, and I'm going to say my gender is Mel. So they'll have to let me in. And I told you that, to the group, and you've done a wonderful job, the group, They say it's attraction that helps get you sober, and it's the attraction of Alcoholics Anonymous that's got me sober, because I kept coming back. Even when I was drunk, I was coming back. I came into Alcoholics Anonymous. Most of you know my story, and some of you've already heard this year's, I was brought up in a very poor area, and I blamed that. I blamed my parents. I was a liar, thief, and a cheat as a child. I was good at shoplifting as a child. And I blamed my mother, because she used to say, there was an orchard at the top of our hill, and she used to say, nip up there and get some apples. And we used to go up the orchard and steal stuff. And then there was also a chicken farm, and we used to steal chicken eggs and take them because we were so poor. And it went from chicken eggs to chicken, we'd nip chickens and take them. She'd tell us off first, but then she'd just say, nip up there, get something. And we done it, And the street I grew up in was all poachers, and I learnt to poach at a very young age. When Mixie first came into England, they used to send us up as kids to kill the Mixie rabbits, because they believed if you killed enough of them, this disease wouldn't spread, and it was like our bread and butter, our food and that in those days. And, I blamed everything, but really it was this ease in me, because whatever I done was never good enough. I was a juvenile delinquent. That was a posh word for always in trouble. The police was always up at our house. One day the police was up there, and my mother said to them, why don't you go back to that police station, which was only just at the bottom of the hill, get the police sign and come and screw it up outside our house, because you spend more time up here chasing my boys, than anything. Let me quieten that up. I've been doing that all day because of you alcoholics, want to say, well done, Mick, and all stuff like that. Oh, no, and it's saying, shut up, Mick, get off the chair. And that's how I grew up, blaming everything and everyone for how I felt inside. I worked at the Forestry Commission, and I loved it, because you could take a gun and dogs and your dogs and stuff like that. But I got sacked from there because I don't believe in being late twice a day at work. So I used to go to work late and leave early, and they sacked me for it. And I went to where a place that really helped me, I know now. I went to work in a brewery as an apprentice mechanic, and I was put over the stable with a bloke called Frank and Vic George, and they were very heavy drinkers, and they used to tell me stories about the horse and drayman, going around the pubs, getting a drink, coming, and the horses used to bring them back, and sometimes the blokes were unconscious on the drays and the told me all the stories about the horses trying to put themselves away and jamming themselves up. And I fell in love with the stories of these guys, the life they had and that. And, you know, and one day the two guys I worked with went out they didn't go on a breakdown, they went out to try a van out. So they said, I know where they were going. They were going around the pub to get a drink and that. And I found their stash and I took a drink and I loved it because what it done, it quietened my insides down. It made me feel whole and I loved it. I didn't know it was that. You know, they used to say Dutch courage, didn't they? Have a drink for Dutch courage. It's kind of like that. And, you know, as time went on, you know, I used to nick more of their stuff. But because on the other side of the road was the main brewery. And you go up the yard and we had a tap room with 2 barrels of beer up and a case of minerals at the side. And you just went up there and you helped yourself. It doesn't matter what time of day it was. And that's what I used to do. I used to wander over there. If I was sent to the fitter's shop, I used to go over, because that was on that side, I used to go over there, nip in there, and just a little drop, and you know. And it used to make me feel a man. I still believe today, if it wasn't through alcohol, I'd be a virgin. Because I was too frightened to talk to any girl, you know. My brothers used to tease me. They'd come home with a girlfriend and that, and they'd get the girlfriend to tease me, and I'd go beetroot red and things like that. See, I had a brother that was very tough and a brother that was very clever. And I always, if any situation cropped up, like intelligence, I wished I was my bigger brother. And if there was a fight I was in, I wished I was my younger brother, Amos, my next brother above me, because he was tough. Because I've seen him in fights and that, and he's laughing as they're fighting, and the mate is knocking the hell out of him, and he's just laughing at him, you know. And that I thought, that's it, you know. Everyone had a better life than I did, I thought. And I found out that alcohol was the solution to my life. But I didn't realise how it controlled me in time. I met the girl who became my wife. I had many, many girlfriends. I won't tell her much about them because I've got my daughter here and my grandchildren and granddaughter and, you know, and son-in-law. You ain't got to listen, Mark. You might hold it against me. And, you know, and I met Sylvia as my wife, and who became my wife, and her mother told her, I think your boyfriend drinks a little bit too much, you know. And I kind of controlled it. It still kind of was controlled, even though I was getting locked up and stuff like that by the police for being drunk and disorderly. And I always contested it because I didn't believe I was disorderly. Drunk, yeah, I'd admit to that, but disorderly, nah. No, I wouldn't have that. And, you know, and also I worked, the guy who owned the brewery was also the magistrate in Henley. And he saved me from going to prison twice, you know, for a long term. One night stands was all right, but you know, I don't think I could have done prisons. I've done prisons in recovery, you know, go and visit and that. But, you know, prison, no. And anyway, you know, we had a son, and I used to take him down the river and things like that, and I'd be pissed. I'd be drunk, and I'd take him down the river, and we'd call in the brewery on the way down so I could get a livener. And one day he said to me, Daddy, is that your medicine? And I said, yes. And he says, I thought it was, because you always seem better after you take it, you know. And as time went on, I just got worse. And in the end, I was one of those drunks that had to be locked away. I was put in an asylum. I thought I volunteered. It was 36 years in sobriety. And I was talking with Sylvie to some people, and I said, oh, I was a volunteer. She said, no, you wasn't. And I said, yes, I was. I said, the doctor came, my boss came, you came home, and we discussed it, and I said I'd go. She said, yes, but the police were outside. If you'd said no, they were going to take you. And I done the asylum, and I done a drying out unit, which was the old type. It's not like a modern clinic and that, you know. And Sylvie used to say, this is how sick, she was in Al-Anon, this is how sick we make our partners or people we, affect with our alcoholism. She said to me, this is in the drying out unit, she said to me, you shouldn't be in here. She said, I should be. I need a holiday from you, you know. That's how sick we make them. And I did make her sick, but I didn't realise what I was doing. Anyway, I came back to Alcoholics Anonymous and that, and he said to me, where you been? And I told you. And they said, missed a bit out actually. For 2 months, I came back to meetings. For 2 months, I went to meetings and that, and I didn't drink. But I wasn't listening. And on Christmas Eve, 1975, the brewery had the pub open next door, and all my mates in the brewery were saying, come and have a drink with us, Mick, meaning come and have a mineral, because they knew who I was and what I was. And I knew if I went in that pub, that mineral would be laced, and I would lace it. So I went home, and then resentment set in, and it gnawed at me, you know. Those are small drinkers, you know. Why can they have a drink and not me? So I said to Sylvie, phone up Al-Anon, see if there's a meeting. And she said, all right. She phoned up Al-Anon, a friend of hers, and she said, yes, Mick, there's a meeting. And I said, I'm going tonight. I'm going to Reading tonight. And she said, okay. And I said to myself, I'll have a drink before I get on the bus, drink when I get off the bus, go to the meeting because they know me and they know Sylvie. And then I'll have a drink when I come back. And the phone rang. And I answered it. And it was a bloke called Bob. And Bob said to me, Mick, I wasn't going tonight, but I'll come and get you and I'll take you. And I thought, you two close your ears, you bastard. I thought, you bastard. I said, to myself, and he came and picked me up. And as we were going to Reading, he said to me, Mick, you helped me so much. And I said to him, ego jumped in. My head swelled. How did I help you, Bob? He said, I used to come to the meetings when you were drinking. He said, I looked at you and I thought, I don't want to be like you. So I stopped. And that was it. I went into that meeting and you came up to me and you said, where have you been? And I said, and they said, if we'd known, we would visit you. You made me feel so welcome and that. I left that meeting. I've never needed to take a drink since. Wanted to many times, but I've never took a drink. You know, when I made amends with my mum, dad, and all my brothers in recovery. I said to my mum, I'm sorry for all the harm I've done to you and the family as a child, as a teenager, and as a drunk. And she turned round to me and she said, if you stay in your club, I'll be the happiest woman in the world. She wouldn't have me called an alcoholic. She wouldn't let my brothers call me an alcoholic or anyone. But if I stayed in this club, I'll be the happiest person in the world. And she died. I was still sober. I came to meetings and I shared how I felt. and you all supported me. Where else can you go get support like we have in these? I lost one brother to alcoholism. He was in AA for a year, sober. Said to me, Mick, he said, Mick, AA's not for me. And he went back out. After a while, he started drinking. And I got a phone call, he's in hospital. Organ failure through alcoholism. And when I went to see him, didn't look nothing like my brother. He had matted hair and a beard and all that. And this was on a Friday. And I said to him, David, I'll come and see you on Monday and I'll bring some scissors and a razor and I'll shave you and I'll cut your hair. And he died on the Saturday. Do you know what he left me? A legacy. If I leave AA, this will happen to me. That's his legacy to me. I said, my father died. Again, I shared in the meetings how I felt. Two of my other brothers, both drunks. One almost came into this fellowship. But my mum said he wasn't as bad as I was. So he didn't bother. He didn't come. You know. And as time went on, you know, I learnt to love. Never knew what love was as a kid. Even when I married Sylvie, I think it was lust, you know. But through Al-Anon AA, teaching us how to love, giving and receiving freely, you know, that we grew in love and we became soulmates. And then she got ill with cancer, you know. And through Alcoholics Anonymous and the help of my daughter and son-in-law and that, I was able to nurse her, look after her, you know, a sober person. This is what you've given me, you people of Alcoholics Anonymous, you know. And we looked after her. She said to me, she said, Mick, this is my disease, this cancer. It's mine. And I said, no, Anne, it's ours. You know, we will share it. And anyway, she did die. And I came to these meetings, and I shared exactly how I felt. And you supported me through it. Alcoholics Anonymous, the people of Alcoholics Anonymous supported me. My family did, you know. And, you know, and what we're going to do when I die, ain't we? We're going to mix our ashes together and we're being sprinkled in the wood over the bluebells because that's what she wanted, you know. And I'm a lucky person. I've got my family here, my son-in-law who I love dearly. You know, he looks after me so much and so does my family. Even me dog they look after, you know. I think they love the dog more than me, tell you the truth. You ask my daughter to show you a picture. You know, when the dog leaves my house, he runs and jumps in their car. You want to see me trying to get him back home? You know, I've nearly got to put a rope round him and drag him home. You know. But this, what I have today, you cannot buy. You can ask Spencer and Sam what I was like this morning and that. All the phone calls, all the messages, all the cards I've got. I didn't know whether I was coming or going, you know. I'm a lucky person to have you people of Alcoholics Anonymous in my life, you know. I let everybody know up our street and in Henley, because Sylvie said to me one day when I got sober, she said, let's move from here and start a new life. And I said to her, they saw me drunk here, let them see me get sober. And most people I know who know me in Henley know that I'm an alcoholic in recovery. I sponsor people because that's what was done for me. I share with people. I get more back from my sponsees than I give them, you know. And I want to thank you, because I've just heard it buzz. My mind's going, but my ears are still working. Well, this ear's working. You know, I forgot what I was going to say now. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I am what you've made me, I hope. And that little bloke there, he reckons he carries me all the time on his back. And that's why I phoned him up. I was on Canaries this morning and to share. And I started off with, I've only got 50 years because Mossy's carried me. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for what I have today.
Well done, mate.